Interesting game coming up this weekend in the Premier League is Newcastle against Chelsea. Eddie Howe's men are unbeaten in their last 9 Premier League games, winning 6 of those. As for Chelsea, they've got back-to-back losses in the Premier League behind them to Brighton and Arsenal. Then they lost to Man City in the Cup on Wednesday. Mario Melchiot and Ian Dark are still with us. But Craig, let me start with you, because this is a huge game for Graham Potter. Given the fact that there is a break coming off, does he have to win this one?
No, I don't think he has to win it. But I certainly think he needs to get at least something tangible before this World Cup kicks off and he loses some players. And then he's got a big break to stew on it. And unfortunately for him, they're going to arguably the informed side along with Arsenal and City in the league. They're playing some great stuff. They're at St James's Park. They're solid at the back. They pass it nice in midfield. The press teams really well. Almiron is flying. Wilson will run in behind. I mean, with the squad they've got, they shouldn't be where they are in Newcastle, which is testament to what Eddie Howe has done. So, but from Potter's point of view, he has to find a solution within the players he's got available. And we know he's got a few injuries, but he's tried a back 3, he's tried a back 4, he's tried the 2 wingers at wing back as he did in Austria, and then he tried it again at Brighton because it worked okay in Austria and it was a disaster. I have no idea what side he's going to select when he goes to this informed Newcastle team on Saturday. What
about you, Mario? Do you have any concerns for your former team?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Almiron, just the videos that we showed about him. I mean, you know, the guy is so much in form. I mean, look, when you look at Chelsea, what I always feel the key things, and then Greg highlighted already in the sense of the way they play, like Potter needs to find his momentum. I don't want to put pressure on him yet because I think he's got there too early. But the only thing is, of course, the size of the team and what they achieved is also going to be at stake. When you look at the Chelsea side, is that who's created danger for them? Like, for example, Sterling played Barcelona. Shevchenko dragged him into the middle of the park where they had a lot of bodies to keep him out from the wide side. Why? Because he knows if he plays against 1v1 against him on the right-hand side, he's going to take him on. But if you take him to the middle of the park, it's going to be a lot of bodies to protect him. Against Man United, Chelsea had a problem too. It took them, what is it, over 30 minutes before they decided to change the middle of the park and seeing like we're losing the battle in the middle. So what I feel is that Potter really needs to look at his tactical side, and also when it comes to sometimes outside players, when they played Man City, you have like a Grealish, you have a Mahrez. When they get you on a 1v1, they will dribble past you. But if you give that to Chelsea, sometimes, look, they're great with passing the ball through. How are they going to get themselves in a 1v1 situation to eliminate and get the advantage to them? And that is only the downside. And one key thing in the loss was the Brighton loss. I think that put a lot of pressure on Potter in the Brighton loss because they people didn't want to see that and people didn't expect that to happen yet.
Ian, Don Hutchison said that Chelsea have no stardust about them. Would you agree with that?
That may be true just at the moment. They've got a lot of good players. I don't think there's any real truth in the idea that Graham Potter, he's only been through the door 5 minutes ago. He's under pressure yet, and nor should he be. But it is a little bit curious what happened there because they went, I think, 9-10 games unbeaten when he started there. Last 4, they barely turned up, particularly against Arsenal. What an insipid performance that was. And I honestly formed the opinion, I'd be interested to hear what Craig and Mario think about this as top ex-players. I don't know, it just looked to me like 1 or 2 of them were saving themselves for the World Cup because there was absolutely no intensity. It was a stroll, really, for Arsenal. They only won it 1-0, but they were so far the better side. So that was a worrying performance, and you're right, they're going to Newcastle, are absolutely flying, and you couldn't honestly fancy them. And Potter doesn't want to be going into this big break now off another defeat.
Well, we'll find out if some of them are saving themselves, because if they are, they'll get a walloping at Newcastle.
Yeah.
I see some of the headlines about Potter. I think I've been on record, big fan of his. I think it's crazy. I think there is for some reason, amongst a lot of Chelsea fans, there is a Thomas Tuchel hangover. Not to say that there wasn't success at Chelsea when he was there. There was a Champions League, but I'll remind people there was a Champions League under Roberto Di Matteo, an interim manager, and almost under...
Club World Cup? A Club World Cup as well, Craig?
Club World Cup, yeah, which is about as worthless as a paper bin. And so I don't get this Tuchel love in. I mean, he's lost 3 of the last 5, and they've been 2 of those games, 1 against a decent Brighton side, but 2 against the best 2 teams in the country. Yes, they were outplayed, but are people so short-sighted and the memory's so short, they don't remember that Tuchel lost 3 of his last 5, and 2 of those were against Southampton and Leeds. 2 sides at that point couldn't barely get a result. So I think there's a lot of short-sightedness out there with this manager, and I think for me, it's because who's Graham Potter? I think if it was a so-called big-name manager in there, I don't think we would be seeing some of the headlines, particularly so early on, but because he's from Brighton and he's worked his way up, it's, oh, this job's too big for him. It's way, way, way too early for that.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.